Hello everyone, this is Dr. Chingakham, a postdoctoral fellow from Singapore and US. In this MitSna teacher topic, even I would like to speak on my postdoctoral research work, that is the microplastics. And for this event, I have entitled my talk as Are You a Plasticterian? Microplastic Ages. As you know that we live in the plastic era, and it's very important to know that there is another threat called microplastics, which is a smaller size than the macroplastics. So this talk is entitled as the plasticterian because as I know that people who eat plastic should be called as plasticterian. And we ingest microplastics knowingly or unknowingly in our food chain system. And based on that, I would like to give an idea about how are we ingesting microplastic knowingly or unknowingly. So let's go and find out about more interesting fact about microplastic and how it is affecting in our human life. According to the definition, microplastics, any of the plastics particles smaller than 5 mm are called as microplastics. And the source of microplastics, especially in the marine environment, could be from the fishing industries, manufacturing of the clothing, plastic bottles, and cosmetic products. And the shape of microplastic, it has no shape. It could be fiber, fragment, spherical, filaments, and irregular. And microplastic can be further classified as the primary microplastics and secondary microplastics. Primary microplastics are those microplastics which is already smaller in size from the manufacturer itself. And secondary microplastics are those microplastics which breaks down into the micro size through the UV microbial activities and degradation. And according to the research, when we search with the keyword microplastics, so far only nearly 3,000 research articles has been reported, and which is a very less in number. That means that we haven't done any of the research on microplastics. And these are the countries which are working on microplastic, and China stands first in the research in microplastics. And these countries which discarded the amount of the plastics in the ocean and marine ecosystem, and China stands first, and Indonesia, Philippines, and so on. But sadly, that we cannot see our country, India, which means that we haven't done any of the research regarding microplastics in our Indian places. So this is a global plastic production. So far, till 2015 census, it says that 350 million tons of plastic has been produced. And we can just imagine that how much of microplastics will be coming out in the future. And I'm pretty sure that in 2021, it should be almost reaching beyond 500 million tons of plastics in the environment. So let us see that how is plastics in the ocean comes, that whenever we discard our plastic in our house backyard area, when the rain comes, it just discard and just discharge at the oceans and seas. And further, what happens is that due to the frictions between the waves of the plastics and the water surface, it breaks down to a smaller pieces and becomes microplastic in the environment. According to our research, we found out that the cigarette butts, bottle caps, straws, and single-use plastics are the major component of microplastics in the ocean environment. And where does microplastic comes from in the ocean? We found out that mainly 35% comes from the synthetic fiber which we wear in our day-to-day life. Let's see how the public perceives about microplastics. Every drinking water has microplastics. All the dress that we wear on a dyed clothes comes out as microplastics. And the baby which feed on plastic bottles consumes millions of microplastics. This is on cosmetic, it has a microbeads, there's microplastics. And furthermore, examples like kind of synthetic tires, beads, and the all the dresses that we wear, and even the cosmetics in the toothpaste and all, they have the microbeads, which is comes as a microplastics. And this is highly recommend that whenever we buy a cosmetic, we should always go for the natural stuff rather than the synthetic polymer beads. So these are the ecological effect of microplastics, which could be mainly based on the toxicity which comes out from the plastics, and the leaching of chemicals is also a major problem. Gut blockage is also major happening in all the marine ecosystems, all the flora and fauna, and the bioaccumulation is also one of the major issues. And how microplastics, food and more, every sea salt was found that we have microplastics, and this is the larva of the uplifting, which is the very basic of the food chain. We have found that already it has microplastics. And whenever we drink a tea with a tea bag, billions of microplastics and nanoplastic release in the hot tea. This is a very, very interesting fact that how we should use our tea should be known from this paper. And all the seafood, which is come as a can, has a lot of microplastics. And these are the microplastics in the food, that in a fish, in the oyster, in the water bottle, and even the air has a microplastic, comes from the synthetic kind of fibers and all. So this is the research which I have done, that I have found out that just in the sardine, in the food pipe systems of the fish, we found that the microplastics, billions of microplastics, these are the shining red dots are the microplastics, which I have found out. And if you want to work on microplastic on the research, that it says that these are the possible topics if somebody wants to work on microplastic research and finding out that what kind of polymer and which polymer is really harmful to the environment, and about the toxicity, leachings of chemicals and all. So this is a possible field. And do we have solution? We can find out, and we can always reduce and minimize the plastic in our environment, that we can support a thrift store instead of buying a new clothes. And you can use the e-wall instead of by stuffing all the plastic wrappers in plastic bottles. They make a beautiful e-wall, and these girls make a beautiful bags comes out from plastic wrappers. Instead of the plastic bags, you can go for the cloth bags when you go for a shopping and market. And instead of cutting the edge of the milk packet, you can just make a slit, which helps not to produce enough microplastics in our environment. So you can buy this plastic bottle which contains free BPA, and always support the sustainable market. And if you have any idea, please share it. Do not be afraid to share any of the good ideas about to reduce plastic pollution. And thank you so much for your time. And if you need any help in terms of collaboration, I'll be happy to help you. And thank you so much once again.